Hello again and welcome to my channel. My name is James. I have here 4 rock artifacts here, and I do believe all 4 of them are giant Indian, the giant red-headed Indian, or just giant Indian killing tools. There's some kind of unusual characteristics about these rocks. They're all animal shapes. This one here, let me go ahead and get this one out of the way and I'll concentrate more on this one here. This one here, ear, eye, snout, mouth. This happens to be a horse head. Very big, very heavy. Not really anything there. Probably pretty much nothing there. It's pretty much a one-sided animal. Like a lot of the other ones are multi-sided. This is just one-sided. Very, very smooth right here. This was worked and then smooth. Just in this area that it's real smooth. I don't know if you can see the shininess from it. Very shiny. And you can see that this was, when I got this, believe it or not, I found this buried like that in the dirt. I didn't see any of this. All I saw was this sticking up. That's what I found. This is in an area where it has been buried for who knows how many years, thousands of years, and it's being uncovered. I discovered it 5 years ago, this area. And none of this stuff was exposed. You couldn't see any of this. It's all exposed. The other rocks here came from my yard. This one came from another area. And I also believe this was a giant Indian rock artifact that maybe one of the regular Native American Indians may have killed them and ended up with this, because it's very big and very heavy. And you can see on the bottom here, looks like it's some kind of a nutting, some kind of tool that they used it for, but it seems way too big for just a normal size Native American Indian would have used it. All this discoloration was, I'm pretty sure, is where it was buried in the ground. It's pretty nice, very heavy. And I think it put on, they mounted this either in the middle. They could have mounted it down here. They could have mounted it on a piece of wood down here, big piece of lumber down here. They also could have mounted it from the top up here. And like this area here, this little cutout, all these little cutouts would have held the rawhide or deer skin or whatever they used to, whatever leather type material they used to tie it onto the stick with. There's also a little sliced area here that would have held rope, or not necessarily rope, but rawhide of some kind. So I think it mounted like this. It could have mounted like this too, because they've got the cutouts to hold it on to the stick. It got a cutout right here, so it most likely mounted like this and was a war tool. I mean, it doesn't really look beat up here. This looks like the concrete, what happens to dirt after a long time, it turns into concrete. That's what this looks like. Because it is around a little bit of a wet area. Lots of rain out there lately. They could have used this end for pounding on too. I mean, it looks like it may have been used a lot, in my opinion. But I do believe this is another one of those giant Indian rock artifacts. Because I swear, this is just too big and heavy for just a normal-sized person to just use as a tool. I mean, I think they may have killed an Indian and they took this from them and they used it in their camp, because why would it be in their camp? And I know this is an Indian camp that I am finding these at, because when you walk around in the desert, and it's very hard to see because of the fact that it's overgrown with lots of creosote bushes and other mesquite trees and whatnot, and you have to look around. But now that it's all being newly unburied by all the rain that's coming down, because I think there was a 1 or 2 foot of overburden at one time, and most of it has washed away, and this stuff is starting to be exposed. I'm going to go ahead and put this down because it is big and heavy and on my table. It might crush it. Okay, this one here came from my backyard. It is also a face. You actually have an ear. You have an eye here. I'm pretty sure that's an eye. They've chipped it away. I mean, that could be, that's just coloration, but there's an eye here. Slopes down, you got your nose, and there's actually a mouth on the front here. A little slice of a mouth, a little bit of a nose there. May have been part of the mouth here too. Pretty interesting. And that's what it is on that side. You turn it over, and I get a prehistoric looking. This is like a little slice in here. It's a prehistoric looking eye. Maybe some kind of lizard too, but it looks prehistoric to me. Then you got your nose. It's actually a little couple little areas look like a nose, and then there's some kind of like cut right here that would represent a mouth. Looks prehistoric to me. I mean, that's what I see. Maybe you guys see something different, but that's what I see. This one here is a little more unique than most would be in a way, because I'm not sure if that's an animal on that side. It could be. That could be an eye of some kind. I don't know. It's like a little cut right there. But how this one was mounted, it looked like it was mounted by two, like some kind of V or a slightly different type of a piece of lumber. They tied it on a little differently. This is pretty much where it would have mounted. The stick would have been here, and they would have tied it on the top. They would have used these slices to tie it on there. It looked like it may have been double-sided. This side was an end, and of course this was another end. I mean, that's my opinion. Form your own. Then I have this smaller one. This one I do believe was a child size of the giant Indians, maybe a practice one. It's also got ears, some sort of maybe an eye, or it's hard to say, eye there, eye here, it's hard to say. Then it goes down to a little nose area. And then it has most likely this is probably considered the mouth, because it looks like a little slot right there. I don't know if you can see that. Pretty cool. Turn it over. Oh, look, another bird, another animal here. And it looks like it may be a bird, maybe the top of the head, an eye, and then kind of a beak. And it could be just an animal. That could be a nose. I don't know. I mean, it looks like an animal to me. Turn it over. Have another one. You got your ear. You got a little cutout for an eye there. And then you got a nose area here. Mouth. Turn it over. Pretty much the same thing. Ear, eye, nose, mouth. So it's a four-sided tool. It looked like it's been used. They may have used it like this. And their tools were universal. They would use them as, a cleaning tool or whatever, scraping the bark off wood or whatever they do, smoothing skins, something like that. Could have been used that way, and then it would have been also a tomahawk. I mean, why have a tomahawk laying around if it's, if you're not going to war at that time, and use it, and then you can just use it as a tool, and then if war starts erupting and you're going to go to war, you just slap it on a piece of wood, and you got yourself a tomahawk. This one's a little bigger. Again, this is an animal. This one's four-sided too. That looks like some sort of an eyeball they've sliced into there. I don't know if you can see that. Nice and shiny up here. And then you got your nose. Probably a mouth here. And you turn it over. Oh, lo and behold, there's another ear. Maybe an eye. Maybe raised up to an eye. Maybe an eye there. Got your nose and your mouth. Then you turn it over. Here we go again. Ear, eyes, nose, mouth. Turn it over this way. Same thing. Ear. Maybe an eye in here, nose, mouth. So this is also as a tomahawk. It mounted at this end. Maybe a junior size giant Indian, teenager, maybe something like that would have used this. I mean, even just a normal size wood guy could, a normal size giant Indian could use this. And it looked like it mounted down here. They mounted it on the board here, branch, whatever, tied it on. There's a little notch there where they tied it, and a little notch there where they would have tied it. Any of these little notches, once you put that wet rawhide on there and it dries up, it shrinks and gets really tight on there. Really nice representation of a horse and dog and whatever these animals may be. Now that's pretty much what the giant Indians had. That's how big those were. These are huge, huge, huge. Well, let me pick up a box here. I have this here. I picked up from the same spot that the first rock I showed you. That's a representation of a horse. These were found in that area. This one here is pretty nice. It's actually a bird too. This is some sort of a beak. It's probably orange. This is kind of an orange color. You got an eyeball here. Top of the head and the beak. Doesn't look like much down here because pretty much the best features are on the other side. This is a big tomahawk. Would have mounted on the tomahawk like that. Both ends would have been exposed. They would have put one pretty much. Wow, this could have been put on like that, but I think it was put on like this. Most of the time they mount them to where the bird, it looks like it's flying, but it could have been mounted here, and then they would have tied it up here. Pretty nice. This is what a normal Indian would have used. Normal size Indian, Native American Indian. This is what a giant Indian would have used. A giant Indian would have used. As you can see, these aren't as big as theirs. Here we go, another animal. Maybe an ear here. It's probably a dog. That's probably an ear, that eye, nose, mouth. Pretty intriguing. On this side, it's looks like it's got some kind of eye there, a little nose here, so it's probably another animal. And this again would have mounted on the stick. Probably would have mounted here. It looks like it would have mounted here, but it could have mounted here too because then they would have tied it. But it almost looks like a fish on this side because you got your fins. It could be, because there's an animal this way and then a fish this way. Pretty nice. Also, here's another one. This is some kind of lizard or maybe a sea animal. It looks like a sea animal of some kind. I see a fin. Fish face of some kind. And some kind of a fish face here. Maybe an eyeball there, I don't know. But this also could have mounted like this on a stick. Tied it off up here. Got all these little areas you could tie it off and tie it to the stick with. Board, branch, whatever. I mean, pretty much everything here has some sort of a face on it. This has got a face on this side, mouth, nose. Eye on this side, face on this side. Look like it's a water animal of some kind. It's hard to say. Maybe a lizard, a bird. Can't tell you. This is a nice one. This one looks like a hammer. This is pretty light. Looked like it was also a fire rock. They put it in the fire, heated it up in the wintertime, put it underneath their bedding, and it keep them warm so they wouldn't freeze in the winter. It's a nice little hammer. Doesn't look like it was used as a hammer. It looked like it was designed for a tomahawk. Mounted underneath here or here. Tie it off. Nice killing weapon. You can see all of these things in here. This is actually, funny thing, this is actually some kind of a bird. There's a little cutout right there, a little beady eyeball right there. This is where some red crest would be. This is like a red crest they've got shaped into here. It's kind of cool. It's got quartz in it. They utilize it. Lots of little red or gold looking speckles in it. I mean, they're possible these could be gold in here. I don't know. Almost every rock that I've gotten from my backyard appears to have some kind of gold, or out in the desert in this Native American Indian site that I've discovered. I don't think anybody knows about it, but I mean, I could be wrong because a lot of the locals out here have raided the area of the big working tools that they had out there. But that was at the beginning of the field. I'm going to the back of the field where it's newly discovered. Water washing out. That's where I found that one big rock, that big horse tomahawk looking one. That's where I discovered it, buried in the dirt. This also was buried in the dirt. This is actually, it was sticking out. I only seen this part sticking out, so I pulled it out. So this stuff is very, very old. You can see just by that crustation on there, that takes a long time for this to turn into like concrete, because that's what it is. This is just like concrete. You barely break it off. It doesn't soak off either. I've tried to soak it off. It doesn't happen. Probably in maybe a vibrator of some kind. Maybe it would be able to vibrate it off. But it really doesn't matter to me now. But it's pretty cool looking. It represents a really nice, some kind of bird. This here, I don't know if you can tell what it looks like, but it's actually a fish. You got a fin back here, a fin up here, a fin down here, and that's its face. I found it in the dirt, laying flat in the dirt like that. That's how I saw it. It's all this stuff is being newly uncovered every time we have a storm out here, and we've had a lot lately. A lot of storms out here. It's uncovering all this stuff. And this is a fish. Pretty nice. Maybe mounted on the stick down here, because you can tie it up there, or either way you do it. Either way, it can be mounted on a stick. It can be mounted on a stick that way. Killing in on both sides. Pretty nice. So, I mean, I'm not going to talk about anything else in here. This is pretty much what normal-sized Native American Indians would have used for their war tools. The only other one I have is this one here. This is pretty cool. This was found in the same area, and I didn't even know what it was. All I saw was this really cool-looking color in here, and I picked it up because of that. Brought it home. Didn't even really pay any attention to it till I was home, and I started looking at it, and then I see, lo and behold, I see an ear. I see some sort of an eyeball or an eye there, but that's probably the eye. Maybe a wolf eye, or I don't know, coyote. Got a little nose area, mouth. Very, very nice. Turn it over. Turns into some other kind of a bird. You got another notch here, or a bird, I think. Got a notch here. Could be a lizard, alligator, I don't know. Little nose here. Pretty interesting. And then you start flipping it around, and what do I find here? I find a horse. This is a horse running. Its ears are back. Got an eye right here, and then I've got the cutout for the nose and then the mouth, because a nose on a horse is very big. Not this big, but it's very big. And you got your mouth. It's got your eye and your ear. So, I mean, there's a lot of representations on here. This could be some kind of a bird here. Pterodactyl or something. I don't know. Just about every rock, every which way you turn it, looks maybe some kind of a bird here. I'm not sure. I mean, eyeball, like, I don't know. But again, Native American Indian, giant Indian. Giant Indian. See the difference between them? There's a big difference. Normal size Indian like we are, giant Indian. Everybody can form their own conclusion. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.